Well, Zimbabwe's High Court has ordered the release on bail of protest leader Promise Mkwananzi ahead of mass anti-government demonstrations planned for later this week. Now, he's one of the most prominent activists campaigning for President Robert Mugabe to step down. Mkwananzi was arrested during protests last month and charged with public violence. Further rallies are planned for Saturday despite a police ban on demonstrations in the capital Harare. Well, for more on this, we're joined on the line by our Zimbabwean correspondent, Shingai Nyoka. Good afternoon, Shingai. Welcome to SABC News. A showdown looming between government and opposition parties following this fresh ban, no doubt.
Absolutely, Kirshni. Both sides are intransigent. The police are insisting that they don't want any more anti-government protests to go ahead, that they are afraid that there will be violence in the city as has been witnessed in the previous months. On the other hand, we have opposition parties as well as civil society activists who believe that this particular ban is illegal. But what we need to understand is that this is just a proposed ban. It won't come into effect as per the law. What the police have done this time, that's different from what they did in the first ban, is that this is just a proposal. They want to get submissions from the different opposition parties and civil society people about whether they're able to hold peaceful protests. So really at this stage, it's difficult to tell whether the ban will come into effect on Friday or whether the police will decide to withdraw it, depending on the submissions that they get from the opposition parties.
Shingai, one wonders how the opposition will now maneuver. We understand the previous ban was overturned by the High Court of the country. Will the opposition approach the courts once again and try the legal route? It did not deter police the last time around from cracking down severely on protesters.
Well, we spoke to the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, and what they are saying is that they're just waiting to see whether the police will abide by the procedures that are set down by the Public Order and Security Act, which require them to receive the submissions from organizations like the Lawyers for Human Rights as well as the opposition parties. And then depending on whether they lift that ban or withdraw that proposed ban or not, then they'll go to court. But really, as we understand, if the police decide to keep this ban in place, then a legal showdown, another one that's reminiscent of what happened last week, is likely to happen again. We understand that the lawyers are preparing their papers, but they're just keeping them on standby to see what happens over the next 2 days.
President Robert Mugabe clearly not happy with the judiciary recently. How has the judiciary responded to such criticism, Shingai?
Well, the judiciary doesn't characteristically speak out through the media or issue press statements. But what is interesting is that during the ruling for the first ban, where the High Court essentially overturned that particular ban, there was a statement that the judge did make. Whether that was in reference to what President Mugabe had said a few days ago, it's difficult to tell, but she stressed the point that the judiciary derives its mandate from the people, and that it has a duty to be impartial, and that it upholds the Constitution, essentially saying that it doesn't really listen to what people say, whether it's people in government or what the public say, that they just follow the law. That, to many people, was almost a veiled reference or veiled response to the attack that President Mugabe had made against the judiciary a few days earlier.
Shingai, very quickly, the courts have released on bail protest leader Promise Mkwananzi. Just tell us a little bit more about him and how has ZANU-PF reacted to his release?
Well, he was released just a few hours ago, and there really hasn't been a response from the ruling party, but there were scenes of jubilation from the opposition, from civil society groups, when they heard that he had been released on $100 bail, but he still will face those charges of inciting public violence. He's been in and out of the jail cells. He was arrested in July, early in July. As you know, he's the leader of Tajamuka, and he says that he will continue, that they will continue to stage these protests until their concerns are raised, until their concerns are met. And so really the showdown and the clashes between these leaders of the civil society movements as well as police are set to continue.